My name is Chris Dahl. I'm the president of the Linn County chapter of UNA USA. So, what has been going on this week at the United Nations? Iowa UNA has had a lot of publicity this week. I don't know if you were aware of it, but Jim Olson, who is the executive director of Iowa UNA, was on Channel 9 earlier this week talking about the refugee situation and especially talking about it since Governor Branstad has said that Iowa will not accept refugees from Syria. Also this week in the Gazette, there was an op-ed from Carol Lyons, who is the secretary of the board of the Iowa UNA. So we're getting some local publicity. At the UN itself, last week, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon congratulated the Burmese electorate for electing the National League for Democracy, led by Aung San Suu Kyi. The Security Council called on all parties in Burundi to engage in peace talks, warning of further action against those who incite more violence in this Central African country, where a recent upsurge has threatened hard-won stability after decades of ethnic strife and could lead to potentially devastating consequences for the entire region if it persists. Also last week, a report from the United Nations agencies and the World Bank said that maternal mortality has fallen by 44% since 1990, giving fresh impetus to efforts to reach by 2030 the virtual elimination of women's chances of dying from pregnancy-related causes as part of the new UN Sustainable Development Goals. Next month, we will have a joint meeting with the local Amnesty International group, many of whom are also UNA members. We meet on December 10th, which is International Human Rights Day. It's the second Thursday rather than the third Thursday of the month, which is our usual meeting day. And our speaker is Charles Crawley, and the title of his presentation is Raphael Lemkin and the Armenian Genocide. On December 9th, in Iowa City, I found out today that there is a teach-in on human rights education. It will be from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon at the University Capitol Center. The speaker is Emily Farrell, who is the Education and Outreach Manager for Advocates for Human Rights in Minneapolis. So if anyone is interested in human rights education, this is an opportunity to get something started in Iowa. Are there any other announcements? Alice.
So I have two things I'd like to talk about for a minute. One of them is that we're about ready to order our books for next year's Great Decisions discussion group. We have a group of about a dozen or so couples and individuals that meet in people's homes that are members of the group. Anybody is welcome to join us, but we do buy a book that gives us sort of a background information before we have our discussions. So right now we're taking orders for books. If anybody would be interested in joining us for next year's discussions, please talk to me tonight because we're about ready to send this order in. The topics we'll be talking about are the Middle East, the rise of ISIS, the future of Kurdistan, migration, the Koreas, the United Nations, climate change, and Cuba and the U.S. So I know there are a number of people in this room that are interested in a number of those topics. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is Chris just told you what you can do on December 10th and 9th, and I'm going to tell you what you can do on the 8th. The 8th is Tuesday of that week, and Amnesty International is going to be holding a Right for Rights event at the public library. It'll be right on the main floor when you come in, and we have 12 cases of human rights violations around the world that have been selected for the whole Amnesty International worldwide to take on the week of International Human Rights Day. And we will be featuring 4 of those 12, but you're welcome to write on any of the 12 that interest you. If you want to look at what we have in the way of topics, I've got that tonight too. But there will be model letters there. You don't have to think up what to say on your own. But we do know that handwritten notes are much more effective than a printed or a Xeroxed letter or petition of some kind. So we're going to try to generate as many letters as we can. And let me tell you, the Netherlands comes out with thousands of letters every year. It is amazing what they do. So this is our first little venture to invite the public to write letters with us. We've been doing it for years on our own, but I hope some of you will come on December 8th, anytime during the day at the library, and we'll be right there in the foyer waiting for you.
How late is it?
It goes from 9 to 9 that day.
If you and I were to pass that microphone back and forth, should we sit on one side and Laura's? How should we do it? Should Laura's in the middle?
Okay.
I don't know.
If Maru can sit in the middle, I can project my voice, I think.
Thank you, Chris. I'm passing along a book of photographs, one on each side. If you would like to take a look at it, I don't want you to not pay attention to John's presentation, but at some point during the evening, if you'll take a look at it. It is a book of photographs assembled by a friend of mine who lives in Ames. And she is dying and is looking to find a transition for relationships that she has established with people in Gaza. And these photographs are from Gaza. They are made by 3 young men with whom she has established contact and has an ongoing relationship. She asked me if I would assume some responsibility for seeing that this project continued. And so I've talked to some of my friends in Veterans for Peace who are willing to help assume some responsibility. And so I thought I would bring to you these photographs and this information about trying to continue a relationship with people in Gaza who are trying to get information out about the situation there. And so if any of you are interested in having more discussion about this or following up on it, then please see me after the meeting. Thank you.
How old are the people that she knows there?
They're in their, I don't know exactly, but looking at their photographs, I would say they're in their 20s, perhaps late adolescent, but certainly they are men. They're not boys. They're men. So, yeah, Hal.
When you're finished.
Oh, you have something you want to say? All right. Okay. So at any rate, I'll be around at least long enough to eat a couple of cookies. So thank you. I think Hal wanted to say something.
Maybe you could use that microphone?
Yeah,
No, I was going to say something, but a couple things. Burns Weston was a wonderful law professor at Iowa, and he passed away, and there's a memorial service for Burns on the 5th of December in Iowa City. He believed in international law. Also, in this month's New York Review, there's a good article by Jed Rakoff, the lawyer, about Stephen Breyer's book about the importance of American courts listening to international law, and Breyer is an advocate of that. And of course, Scalia and Thomas are strongly against it, but the United Nations listens to international law, and it's a good article. That's about all.
I would like to remind you that the red cup that is sitting on the refreshment table is for donations to the World Food Program, which provides lunches for school children. So far this year, we have collected nearly $120, which our Treasurer Lee will forward to the WFP in December, probably. Our program tonight features Dr. John Chaimov, chair of the German department at Coe College, who has been working with refugees from Burma for several years. Tonight he promises a lively question and answer session with Mu Ro, an ethnic minority woman from Myanmar who spent most of the 2000s in Ban Mae Surin UN refugee camp in Thailand before moving to Cedar Rapids in 2011, where she now lives with her family. Please welcome John Chaimov and Mu Ro.
Hi, you're also welcoming Marilyn Langhurst, who is a known entity. Thank you so much, Chris. It's lovely of you guys to come out on a cold night, and what an opportune topic. This topic of refugees was lined up months and months ago with Jeremy, and it's hard to imagine picking a week where the word wouldn't appear in greater font in the newspapers and just be on everyone's tongue. So I just feel very fortunate that we're here at the right time, and you guys are here at the right time to experience something very special. When Governor Branstad and many other governors in the country are letting their fear get the better of them, it's probably because they don't know people like Muru, and they probably haven't met people like Muru and haven't learned about their story. And by the end of the evening, you guys will have made a terrific new friend, and you'll just have a face to put on what is otherwise a kind of a category that's empty and waiting to be either filled with fear or filled with generosity, depending on how you learn about it. So I really just wanted this evening to be a kind of loose and open question and answer. And Marilyn has been a great friend to Muru and Muru's family for years now, and she's going to help me facilitate this. And I thought we could, between Marilyn and me, we could ask Muru some questions just to kind of get some of her life out onto the table, and then we'll see how far we get and open it up for your questions. So first of all, Muru, can you tell us what country, where did you start out your life? And can you tell us what country you come from, and maybe a little bit about your, how you grew up? What was did you come from a village? Did you come from a city? Get us started on your life.
Okay, my name is Muru. I'm from Burma.
And is her microphone working? Okay, great.
I grew up in a small village. It's far away in city. So there's no car, no basket. Everyone walk every day. They're all like a farmers. So yes. So I grew up then in like 2002, and I married. I have one child. In 2002, I came to refugee camp.
We're going to go more slowly than that, Muru. We have all the evening with you.
You have one question, I answer one answer.
But tell them about how you spent your day and when you went to school and those periods of time when you couldn't go to school, so they know what it was like to grow up in Burma.
Okay, I went to school as I was 9 years old, and I started in kindergarten because I'm the older, so I really want to go to school, and I saw my friend go to school every day, and I told my mom, I want to go to school, and she told me, you have to take care of your brother, sister. And then I cried, I cried and like funny. So when my mom finished like harvest, like
Finished what?
rice.
Oh, the harvest, the rice harvest.
The rice, and I went to school. Like a half year, I take care of my brother, sister. Half year, and I will go to school.
When Americans think of a rice harvest, we think of a big field in California, maybe a big wet field. What were your rice fields like?
Oh, it's got like a big hill, big hill. So it is different, totally different here.
Mm-hmm. And how many rice fields did you have?
Oh, like in our village, we had 80 families, and we had 80 like a rice field. Everybody had to have rice field. The most important is rice in our village.
And you told me once that your family had 8 plots. Is that correct? Or did I misunderstand you?
It's blocks.
Like
Sections of land.
8 sections where you could grow rice. One
Yes.
year you grow here,
Yes.
the next year you grow here. They use Sweden agriculture, so they burn a hillside, and then you can plant rice. It's dry rice, so it's not in a wet paddy, but on the hillside you can then grow the rice, and then you have to let your land sit fallow for 7 years before you plant it again. So if your family is wealthy enough to have 8 rice fields, 8 sections, you can grow rice every year, and that means that you are sort of comfortable and you can share rice with others.
Yes. You know, like if, for example, like if my mom had more rice, and like other people, they don't have enough rice, so my mom share with them. So like when they finish harvest, or they give it to my mom.
So, Maru, tell people what you did to prepare food, and that was a very long process each day that she was involved in. Tell them a little bit about the work that you did to get ready to let people eat.
In Burma?
Uh-huh.
Burma, the most important is rice. Only what is, we can do a really, really difficult job, because we can work hard all year. Like in September, so the rice is ready, harvest. So yeah, you have to, no. Like I'm gonna tell you, like first.
Okay.
First, you have to go to the field and look at like a place, lead, and to plant the rice. You have to cut all the tree, cut by your head. Big, small, everything you have to cut by your head. Finished, and like you have to dry like a 1 month. And burn the field, and after you have to like clean them all together and place the rice. And with the rice, 2 or 3 times. And after the rice ready to harvest, you have to harvest and put together like, I don't know what to call, like it's kind of small cap. Yeah, put together. You have to carry, like walk and carry big basket. Yeah, so yeah. That's
How did you
only
cook it?
rice. You have to work hard all years.
And how did you cook it then?
Cook.
Yeah, did you have to go get
Go.
chips?
Yeah, go get rice, and when you cut it, you have to like dry like fires. And how do you call it? Take all the rice shell
Yeah, you
Yeah.
thresh it,
Yeah,
you winnow
thresh
it.
Yeah, and cook.
And did you have the job of making sure the fire kept going? I thought I remembered one time you told me that.
Marilyn, we can't.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was recalling that she told me that it was her job to look after the children who were too young, but also to keep the rice cooking and keep the fire going. And so she had responsibilities because that was the food that the people were going to eat. And so she didn't really have any choice about it. She was the oldest. And is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so then when you wanted to have fun, what did you do for fun? If you had to work all day to get meals ready?
I don't have fun. I don't have time to have fun. You know, when I went to school, and my parents, because the village and the fields a little far away, and they were sleep and farm. So I stay like at home and take care of my brother, sister, and like in the morning, wake up early, carry water, and thresh the rice, and eat. Some carry water, and then go to school, and come in evening, carry water, you know, and wood, and thresh the rice. You have to do every day, and I don't have time to have fun.
Did you tell me that you had to go far away to buy supplies?
Yes, like we don't have in our village, so you have to go like 3 days. You have to walk 3 days, day and night. So you're carrying heavy in your head. So, yeah.
And then so at night then where did you sleep?
That's under the tree when I walk to the city. I slept under the trees and wake up early. And we don't have flashlights. I just walk. We use like a firewood.
A torch.
Yes. So yeah, we don't have flashlights. We just walk.
And so what did you do if your little brothers and sisters said, "I'm tired, I don't want to walk anymore"? What happened then?
And yeah, to walk. But my brother, sister, they don't walk too many like me. When I was 16 and 17 years old, I walk every week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you have to carry them sometimes?
Yeah. You don't have to walk like that. You have to carry it, always carry things.
Okay.
Maybe 15, 20 pounds every time. You have to. Yeah.
And what were the
Sorry.
temperatures like?
Oh, it's hot. Summertime, but like a winter time, it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in the summer, maybe?
Yeah,
like
hot.
100
hot.
degrees maybe?
I don't know when I was there.
When you carried something, how did you carry it? It's a little different from America.
Basket, we use basket and pull like a rope here and walk, and clap the mote, go down the river every day.
What year were you born?
1979.
Can I offer a little history lesson to sort of give some setting? Okay. In 1947, Burma won its independence from Britain, which was giving up its colonies, or whose colonies were leaving. And like many colonial countries, like many post-colonial countries, it was a jumble of ethnicities. And if sort of the shape of my hand, and on the some side of my hand was India for you. On the other side was Thailand. China's up on the north. So it's in between many countries. And in the center, sort of in the palm, in the center, it's predominantly Burman majority, Buddhist religion, and people of this sort of Burman ethnicity and Burman language speaking, Burmese language speaking. All around sort of my fingers and thumb would be ethnic minorities and ethnic minority states. And these had their own languages. There are 35 different languages that are spoken in Burma, in Myanmar. It changed its name to Myanmar in 1990-ish, 1989. And the religions are also different. So Buddhism some, but also Christianity some, and we'll ask Muru about her religious experience also. 1962, so 15 years before Muru was born-ish, there was a military putsch, and the generals took over the government. It had been a democratic government in its first decade or so, and then from 1962 on, it was a military dictatorship for 50 years. And the dictators came from that central ethnicity and ruled with an iron fist. I'd say for the first few decades, it was not particularly high-level civil war, sort of a slow and simmering civil war between the ethnic areas and the central government. Actually, some quite prickly in the very early years. But by the time Muru would have been born, somewhat quiet. And some of her family has talked about not unpleasant dealings with government soldiers, but by and large, the government soldiers would have been posted out to the ethnic fringe areas to keep the lid on the ethnic insurgencies and the efforts of the ethnic minorities to try to assert their independence rights that had been granted in the early Constitution. And those soldiers then, increasingly, as Muru's life would have gone on into the late 80s and early 90s, was difficult. So that's the part that I'd like to explore with her next, as she's sort of becoming a teenager. Muru, what were your dealings with the soldiers? When did you see soldiers? And maybe if you want to start before that, tell us about your religion. And I don't know, what was your religion like when you were growing up in Huelo village?
We all Christian.
So Baptist
Yes.
Christians,
Baptist Christian.
and there were Baptist missionaries from the United States in the early and middle 19th century. So they've been Christians for a couple of hundred years.
Yeah, mostly people like in my village, like my neighbors, they all Christian. But cities, big cities, they are mostly like Buddhist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then tell us about the first time that you became aware of soldiers in the area where you lived.
Yes. Like
Were you a teenager?
Oh, that's long, like my ma and grandparents, all very, yeah. We run for the soldiers. I too when I came to Thailand, you know.
Well, yeah. Let's just before you had to flee to Thailand, tell us if the area where you lived was becoming more scary, if you were becoming frightened, and what was happening.
Yes, I live in Korean state. There's different state, And the Korean state, they have like Korean soldiers and they fight each other like a Burmese soldier. And when the Burmese soldiers came to our village, and you have to run away. If you stay home, they can kill everyone. But we ran away every time, like each month or every 2 weeks. Oh, I'm very tired of this. So, yeah.
Can you?
They burn the villages?
Yeah, when they came to the village and burn the houses, kill the animals, when they see every day, they destroy.
But your village wasn't burned until 1992, isn't that correct? I think around then.
Yes.
And you had some dealings with soldiers when, for example, you would go to Mochi or go to the town, the regional town, to buy provisions,
Yes,
salt, or batteries.
I saw them 2 times in different city. The one time I went to a small city called Napes. I bought like a food or like a battery. What do you say?
Batteries, yes.
Batteries. So they saw me and because they had gun and they saw me and they said, take all your thing in your basket. And he took all my battery and food and he told me, follow me in my office and show me your ID. So because we live in village, we don't have ID. If you don't follow me, I'm gonna shoot you. So they take all my battery. I have my brother and my cousin and some of my friends, and they let my friend go away. But my brother and my cousin and I stayed. So how old were you? I'm 17. So they take all my things. So they pull battery because it's kind of big box. And he pulled like a 1, 2, 3 here. And he turned around this way. And I told my brother, run away, run away. If they shoot me, I'm going to die right away. I don't want to follow them to their office. So he turned around and I ran away. And I let my brother and my cousin run. And I followed them. So, yes, I'm very scary. I was very scary. Like after 2 months, I didn't go back to that city because I thought, oh, I might see them again. And at the other time, yeah, and in different city, and different time, I went there. I went there for buy like a food or like a school supplies. I would have white friend, so I went there and I bought everything and I put in my basket. And they saw me, like the soldier, they saw me and they said, take all your things and brought back to the store. And I'm very, very scared. So, I'm so worried. And like, and I did one soldier house and they give me food. But I don't want to eat because I'm so worried. So like a little bit dark, and they follow me, and I brought that food like a takes when I pass. Like I remember when I buy this food and which store. So I brought that food, and they follow me, and they told me don't run. If you run, I'm gonna shoot you. So I told them, I cannot run. I don't know where to run. And yeah. And
What you're hearing is her experience of something that was called the Four Cuts program, and this was introduced by General Ne Win, Generalissimo Ne Win, I think in the 1970s, possibly 80s, and that was to try to fight the insurgency through by terrorizing the civilian populace, and it was meant to cut off money that would supply soldiers or militants. It was meant to cut off food, to cut off people, so to prevent people from joining the militia. And I can never remember what the fourth is. Let's say housing them, something like that. So that's why soldiers would be bothered with things like batteries. They didn't want them being funneled to the militia, and why they would be harassing non-combatants.
So then, do you want to talk now then about once you got married and there were more soldiers around and things seemed more dangerous, and talk about how you eventually got to Thailand?
yeah, it is 1998. That year, that's terrible year because they already burned the village, and we run to the forest, and we build like a small hall. So they came again, and we had to run and build another place again. We roll like 8 years.
How many people were all together as you were running from place to place? How many people?
After when the village burns, we all separated.
Okay.
We don't live together anymore.
So maybe just your immediate family of like,
Yes.
what, 8 people? or
10
people?
families and 10 families.
Can you tell some stories of that moment when the soldiers came to your village and you had to run? For example, the kid who ran into the soldiers.
Yes. Then like evening, almost dark, I was ready to take shower, and my sister called me. I said, "Come home. The soldiers almost here." So we have to like hide things because we have food or clothing or something. We have to carry everything at the same time. We can't, and we have to put one of there like a small river or under the trees. So, and then we all kind of busy. Like my friend also did all kind of busy, and we run away. We sleep another place, and in the morning, not in the morning, like at the afternoon, I heard like gun, people shoot gun. I heard two, and I don't know. I asked why. It was maybe the Burma soldier, and I heard and somebody like I don't know what to say. Like I said, Burma soldier coming coming here, run, because I did someone saw in some place, so we know all the Burma soldier coming and we just run. We don't know how to run. Some children cry. They don't know how to go back to their parents. Run this way. Some will cry, some will how do you say, call their children.
Yeah,
and
yes.
So we just run, and like one of he's kind of my cousin, and he ran through like the soldiers, and they catch him and kill him, and one like a brother, he carry like his brothers, and he ran through the soldier and pulled out his little brother just ran away. And his little brothers are, I think, someone I run away. I didn't know that happened in like the house, but someone told me the little boy he climbed on the mountain and cried and said, I think he didn't go back to his house, and when he went there, his house already burned. And after the soldier, like they burned the house, killed animals, and when we had digs like a food or something, they all brought back to I don't know their place.
Their headquarters?
Yes. So after they left, so
What about what you saw in the tree?
my skirt. Yeah, I don't have nothing left. I only have skirts fastened on the tree. I don't know why. They all fur, the horse, like a clothing, food, animals, so nothing left. So.
What color was it?
What?
What color?
Blue. Blue and strange. And when we read to the forest, some people they don't have food. And my mom and some friends they stay inside like a rice, just rice. So we share together. And if the soldiers stay longer, we don't have any food.
We run out of food.
Yeah, run out of food.
And these are IDPs, you know, from your reading, internally displaced persons. So that's what she's talking about when they run to the forest. So you ate some rice because you carried it with you. And how did you get water?
Water, we hid like in the cave, and you know, some water come out on the rocks. Yeah, we put like a pot or big bamboo in there, and the water trapped out, and we just use this.
What about the chickens? You told me once there was something with chickens and tennis shoes.
What chicken?
Yeah, like so the soldiers wouldn't hear.
I can't remember.
Once she told me they put shoes over the head of the chickens so they wouldn't like crow or something, so the soldiers wouldn't hear them. Do you remember telling me that story?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You know, where the soldiers, even animals, they have to quiet. Everywhere to quiet. When you singing or do something, so people are kind of mad at you. So you have to quiet either animal or like a pig, dog, everything.
So tell us then, how did you get to Thailand? What led you to out of the jungle to Thailand?
Yeah, because we run each mile or every 2 weeks very tired, and the kids they never go to school. So that's why we thought, oh, if we go to refugee camp, like it's gonna be better. So we decided and walked to the refugee camp.
So was the refugee camp as good as you thought it was going to be?
But yeah, a little bit better.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because there are no more soldiers. It's good things.
How long did it take to walk to the camp?
1 month, day and night. But you have, sometimes you have to stop and like you have to listen, like ask people about like the soldier, because you worry about when you go when you see them and they're gonna kill you. So yeah, stop and walk, start and walk.
Can you Can you say what the soldiers did to your Uncle Macy when he was young?
Yeah, that I can't remember. I don't know. I was little. So.
Well, she has an age peer who, when he was about 13, the soldiers visited his house and pointed guns at him and said, "Come along, you need to carry our ammunition." And the soldiers would do this. It's called portering, and they would go to the village and take the minorities out and make them carry their guns, make them walk barefoot in front of the army column to set off any landmines that might have been placed in the road, and certainly give them no pay, and they would run away if they could, but it was quite a miserable thing to happen to you if the soldiers caught you. And he was 13 years old when that happened to him.
Yeah, when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, I remember that time when the soldiers came, like children or women, they stay in village. But later, we have to everywhere to run.
So you all know right now how far some of the refugees from Syria have had to travel just to try to get to some sort of safe haven. So she talked about moving for 1 month, day and night, afraid that they were going to be killed, with small children, trying to be quiet, not knowing if they would have enough food along the way. And she finally got to the camp, and she thinks, well, good, no one's going to be shooting at me, so this has to be a good place. But living in a camp is not like living in your village, right?
No.
Yeah, talk about what life was like in the camp.
You can't go anywhere.
Oh, you
Just
can't.
stay in camp. If you because some people, mostly people, they want to they need money for their family, and they work like a child village. Some people they nice, some people they not nice. When you work, and they didn't give you money, even they tell Thai police, and the police catch you and charge you money. So that's not good.
So your family was given a house on stilts or on poles to live in?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then what would you do in the morning when you got up? Would you just...
They kept me.
Yes, yes. How did you live in the camp? You couldn't go anywhere really to get a job, or did you make a job? Because I know you did something special.
Yeah, they call, what to call, I don't
What?
remember.
What?
Like a group help refugee people, like a
like you-
school or,
Like UN, you mean?
yeah, UN.
Okay. That's It's
So,
good to know that for this
and
group.
the school, some people work like a teacher or nurse, and they have 4 or 5 kind of groups.
Oh, or like
You know,
TBBC, you
yeah,
mean? Like, okay.
TBBC.
So that's a consortium of nonprofit agencies that come together to administer the camps. So United Nations is responsible for security of the camp, for example, and I don't know, there's a Planned Parenthood presence for family planning, and I think maybe the Jesuits are in doing the schools, and there's a medical clinic that somebody else is responsible for. And they come together in this thing called, now it's called TBC, but at that time, TBBC, the Thai-Burma Border Consortium, to run the camps. There are about 15 or so camps along the spine between Thailand and Burma. About 150,000 people total among the camps. Her camp, Masurin, was one of the smallest with about 4,000 and very remote.
Tell them one of the things that you did in the camp.
To the right.
Tell them one of the things that you did in the camp, the type of work that you did with planting. Planting with, didn't you?
Yeah, I have a little garden, planting vegetables and little flowers, mostly vegetables. And
Now, just for your family or for more people?
just for my family. Each family has their own garden.
Okay.
And you did some teaching, didn't you also?
Yes, 3 years.
What did you teach?
Oh, I teach like first grade, and I teach like math and English, some English, and Korean and Burmese language. Four language.
Now, the exciting thing was that she went into the camp with just one child, but she was in the camp for a long time.
Yes, 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. And so you had other children there.
2. I have other 2 children in camp.
And so did you go to the hospital to have your children?
No. And home, no hospital.
No. So anyway, and then were you, when the children were born, did they receive medical care in the camp?
Yes, it's different here. Like we don't get like a medical cards. They are free. If you have had, for example, headache or sick, you can go anytime.
Okay.
And who else from your family was in the camp?
All my family in
Okay.
camp. My mom, my brother, sister, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, they all lived in camp. I know some came to America, some Australia.
And it was in 2009 that I visited the camp and met Muru's relatives. It was her uncle who was my host at the camp while I was there, and I met Muru while I was there, but I don't really remember.
I met him.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could rewind time. I know. And you were there for 8 years, and then and the camps had really been open for 15, 20 years. They started in the very early 90s. There had been an uprising in 1988 among the populace in Myanmar, and the uprising was put down ruthlessly by the government. The student leaders of that fled to the ethnic areas, and pretty soon the army followed and made it too hot. And it was in those sort of very early 90s that the camps were erected. And then when I was there in 2009, they had been in existence almost 20 years, 17 years, I guess. And it was getting clear that it was not a temporary tarp over a little PVC piping frame that people were going to be living in for a few months and returning to their home. Despair was setting in, and they needed to find a more permanent solution for these people who really couldn't live their entire lives provisionally. So several countries got together, the United States and Australia, and Britain and Canada and Scandinavian countries, and said, go through a process, apply, and we'll take you. We'll front you the money for your voyage to our country if you pass the medical check and if you pass the character check and everything. And you can pay us back after you've gotten a job. So 2010 rolls around.
Yeah.
And what happened?
2010, they October. And I live in Camp 2, and
There were two camps for Karenni ethnic
applied
people.
for here, but I have to go to another camp and stay there at least 7 or 8 months, and then I came here.
Can you talk a little bit about the UN, the process to leave a camp? And again, if you think of the Syrian refugees, primarily Syrian refugees in Europe right now, it's not as if someone just opens the gate and says, we'll take 100, we're going to take you off now. At the camp that she was at, you had to apply to leave. And you had to go through all sorts of steps to make sure that you were healthy enough to leave, to find out how many members of your family were going to go, and all of these things. And that was not something that was done in an afternoon. That took time, right? And you said you had to go to a different camp even to fill out the paperwork. And then you waited, and waited. And then talk about your waiting experience compared to your mother's, because her mother came 2 years later. 2 years later? No, 4 years.
Oh, yeah, at least 3 years.
Yeah.
She
Well,
came
yeah,
this
3 or
year,
4 years
so.
later, okay. No, talk about that waiting for the UN thing.
Yes, I think I'm waiting. That's a long time ago. Yeah, I'm very tired of waiting. I want to come here soon, but waiting, and I every day go to the ROM office and ask them questions.
That's the International Organization for Migration, and that's the international agency that facilitates the movement of refugees from their camp to the third country in which they'll settle.
And I think an important point is similar to the refugees in Europe right now. Most people who go to those camps don't have passports. They don't have the proper
That's right.
paperwork.
You're a stateless person until you get your papers.
You're a stateless person, and so you need photographs taken and verification, and when were you born, and lots of people don't know the date when they were born. And so all of these are complications, and the host country, the country who is going to take these people, want to know a few facts about them before they get there. And it's very difficult, but in the meantime, those people who are ready to leave, they're sick and tired of being there, and they want to have a forever home. They have trouble waiting, and sometimes it seems like an eternity. And I was thinking it was only 2 years for your mother. It was 4. And I remember when I first met Maru, she said, my mother will be here soon.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 years. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she waited, and she's tired, and I waited for her, and I'm very tired too.
Tell them she called her mother every day when she got here to the United States. A major portion of her income went to her calling card for her to talk to her mother to see if they would soon be reunited. So that was really quite a hardship, wasn't it, to be separated from her for that long. Tell them about the plane, to have 3 small children, and to board. Yes, I know. Libby shaking her head like it would be terrible. Yes, and the food and the crying.
Yeah. So I'm so worried all the way to come here. My son Chris, when some people put on food on the airplane, and he said, "Ma, I want to eat rice. I don't want to eat this food." I said, I know. So when I showed them a food, and they all angry. They're tired, and they don't want to eat, and need to when I show food. I don't want to eat. Don't wake up me. we yeah, we all like worry and tired. Oh.
And then tell them where you went. Where did you go when you came to the United States?
When the first I went to Massachusetts, like
What time of year?
2010.
No, that season.
Like October 22nd. And when I went out, it felt cold and windy. Yeah, but I had some friends to help me. And then 2 weeks later, my son is really sick. And my case worker, he's not good. They will take care of like my son, but my son friend, they walk me to the hospital every day because he has appointments every day. I don't know why he has appointments every day. I have to carry him on my back, or even my husband carry him and walk every day.
So you can imagine the situation of being in a totally different climate, in an area where you do not speak the same language, and then you have a very sick child and no one can give you any answers. Very, very frightening situation to be in. And the one and only contact person, her caseworker that they gave to her, can't be found. And so that's how
Yeah.
she called John. Who are you going to call?
Yeah,
Either
I called
Ghostbusters
my
or John.
best friend John, and I
Wow.
talked to him, and he said, "Oh, you can come to Cedar Rapids," and I'm very happy. And I can't speak English. I want to call it every day, but I can't speak English.
But now you've learned. Isn't it great?
Yeah, I want to tell him, hurry, I want to go to Cedar Rapids, but I can't speak English.
I would like to say that Maru is a student from the Catherine McCauley Center, and she has been so faithful in going to her classes. When she first moved to Cedar Rapids, it was just an unbearable Iowa summer, and she had a 4-year-old. Chris was 4, and the girls were 8 and 10, and John found her a stroller, even though Chris was 4, because she had no transportation. It's very hot, and she had to get from the Oakland apartments to the Catherine McCauley Center every day for her lessons. And she loaded the children up, and the girls walked beside her in the heat, and they would go to their classes. She never missed her classes. When the weather turned bad, she could have said, "You know what, I don't think I want to go out in the cold today," but she didn't. She would walk to the bus stop. She learned to use the bus as public transportation, and she continued to go to her classes week after week, year after year. And so what you hear today is from a great deal of hard work studying. And I am very proud to say that all 3 of her children are very good students. And I think part of the reason is that they saw their mother all these years work so hard to go to school. So although she couldn't begin kindergarten until she was 9 in Burma, she has made up for it as an adult.
Marilyn, I think we're getting very close to where we should turn it over to the crowd. But let me ask, did you only have English classes at Catherine McCauley Center, Muru?
Yes.
No. Wrong answer.
No, everywhere.
I asked the wrong question.
Yes, that's why I think yes.
I'm sorry. I asked the wrong question. Are English classes the only kind of classes that you had at Catherine McCauley Center?
No.
What other kinds of classes did you have?
Like home and friends, co-students.
No, yes, I know,
What
but
subjects did you study?
I just mean, What about, where was the first capital of the United States?
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it was actually New York, but
Oh,
close enough.
Yes,
Yes, I mean citizenship. And what happened after you took your classes for citizenship?
And I applied for citizen, and now I finished fingerprinting, and I'm waiting for a test. I'm ready.
It's very close. She's very close in the citizenship pipeline. So she's done her fingerprinting and
Yes.
she's close. I think we should let you guys ask some questions. You've been so patient. And I know you've got questions for Muru about her story and her life here and her life there. I can repeat a question, or I can give you the mic. Who would like to ask her something? Alice, please.
When you went to school, when you were 9 years old, was it all in one room, or were there lots of rooms? With
Yeah, they
different
have
classes?
like a first grade, second grade, and kindergarten, and a small groups, small room.
Can you in the back hear if somebody in the front asks? Yes. Okay.
And where
That's
was
fine.
your teacher from? Was she from your village, or did
Yes,
she come from
yes,
outside?
my village.
Can you talk about church in your village?
Yeah, we have one church. Yeah, we go to church every Sunday. Yeah, my teacher, oh, she's really strong. Like every student have to go to church every week. If you did go to church, Monday, oh, she gonna beat you.
And what about soldiers and your church?
What?
What about soldiers and your church?
Soldiers at the church?
This is a terrible way of conducting an interview, isn't it? Muru once told me that when the village was collected up in the church and all the villages were concentrated in one place, they had to post sentries at the corners of the church to keep an eye out for soldiers because they were especially vulnerable when they were all together like that. I don't know how to ask that as a question without answering it, but that's right. You just say yeah.
I can't remember.
All right. More questions, Livy.
Muru, what's the strangest American food that you
Oh, I
have eaten?
love American food.
You do?
I want to try everything.
Is there anything you didn't like?
Yeah, I like everything, even when, because I work here. So, Vicky, she always told me, Muru, taste my food. And I like everything.
Really?
Yes.
Nothing you don't like?
No.
Brussels sprouts?
No.
I just gave her some
Yeah, I
Brussels
like
sprouts
everything.
from my garden.
I even my school, they have picnic. Oh, I'm really glad. I brought my food and we brought food and eat together.
By the way, something she didn't mention is that she also is employed. You've been working now for how many months?
Only 5 months.
Just a month? Has it only been?
Yeah, 5
Okay.
months.
5 months, okay. Yeah, so we're very excited about that, and she has studied, though not passed her driver's test yet, right? That's a work in progress.
Yeah, I tried.
Goals for the future.
Bring just one.
Like for me, I'm work, I'm go to school. Yeah, my teacher, she told me, Muru, you have to go get GED or something. So in my heart, I want to try, but it is hard for me.
You can do it.
And citizenship is very close. And driver's license is very close.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
Would it be possible for you to visit Burma again, or would you want to?
Yeah.
Why,
You own land.
Oh, yes, I have land. But I wish I could visit Burma, but I'm not sure. I don't have to think about it.
I'm not sure she can go back there easily as a refugee. She could get to Thailand easily. She's a permanent resident, so she could apply for a travel document. She isn't to the point where she could have a passport yet, but she's got a cousin who has gone back to visit Thailand and has gotten at least close along the border. But I don't know, if you're here as a refugee, do they let you go to the country where you've been expelled from? It doesn't sound right somehow. Once you become a citizen, you can go any place they'll let you in with your passport.
Could she speak a little bit of Burmese for everyone?
Karen, Burmese, Kareni. We all have to
Say something
say something.
in Korean.
Karen, say something.
Yeah.
That's it. Evening, good evening. Hala agui. Good evening. That's me. Hala agui.
Where are you working?
I'm working here.
And she works at the church. Yeah.
If there are no other questions, let's give a round of applause to
You were wonderful, Lou. You were wonderful.